Hey everyone, Joshua Hanlon here at Brickworld Chicago 2022, and today I'm at the Rebel Lug Collaborative Layout. We're going to be talking with a bunch of builders about their different sections here. We got the first builder, if you want to introduce yourself and give us an overview of what this is.
Hi, yeah, I'm Spencer, and this is our original concept, Abastonia. This is a retrofitted ancient city, retrofitted by a modern civilization that's trying to build a massive rocket in the core of the city. So you're going to see a lot of manufacturing that's clearly been added on top of these like old sort of sandstone ruins. Lots of very industrial clashing with, I think, a lot of beautiful architecture. So if I can pass it on to Ryan over here, I think he can talk about his section.
Perfect. We'll move over to the left side then, and you want to tell us about what you have?
Sure. I've got these sections in the front here, and then the bridge going back, that building there. So we did like some of the meat processing down here. They've got some weird octopus thing going on. It's actually a Duplo grate where the octopus are, and the sheep all crammed in there. There's a butcher in the back. It's kind of hard to see, and then a few goats. The buildings were fun. Tried to get kind of a fantasy kind of vibe going on, like a Howl's Moving Castle kind of thing, by making them larger as they went up, and just got to use a lot of fun details with the browns. The bridge and the tower, we were thinking it was kind of like a rebuilt thing. Part of the tower crumbled, then they put in all this black metal to try and build it back up.
So this brown building here is very complex. Tell us about some of the parts you were able to use there.
So these are, down here is the bar holder with the clip. They go way back in there, and then there's just like a tile holding by friction in between there. You
got the black doors, it kind of is the roof pieces?
Oh, yeah, I was able to find a few of those, and those are fun to use. There's actually those, it's that slope with the snot on the side of it. Those are inside supporting it, and it made a nice angle with the wedge plates on the corner. So, yeah, that was fun.
What was it like building here? Because the angles are all very strange throughout this whole build. Obviously, it's kind of half round, but then you've got all of these wedges shapes kind of coming out.
Yeah, and we found like where certain connections would work. There's like 7 studs fit between those plates pretty well. Just feeling it out and seeing what works. Some of the houses are just like kind of sitting on top, so you can work any kind of angle you want that way.
Very nice, great work, thank you. So we'll keep moving around here. So we got the next builder. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Drew, and my section of collab here is this wedge you can see right here, and this is more of a village and more agriculture side of the city, as in contrast to some of the more industrial parts of it here. And so in the back here we've got a silo, and that's made using the rubber tread pieces with tiles attached to it. That gives it that nice round look. And then you got some crops that they would use to be feeding the city in this sort of apocalyptic scenario that they're in here. And then further down here you have a city, or a building with a generator essentially here to provide power for the place, and then also water. You got some more crops down here, and then sort of a marketplace down here for the people to be trading these crops that they've grew and make money for themselves.
And then what about this building on the left there?
This one's actually Ryan's that he built, and so I tried to sort of use some of the same color schemes here with this brown and stuff, and he's got a really cool these spiky plant pieces up at the top here, which I think gives a really cool look, and he fastened all those there in some way that I'm not smart enough to know about, but it's a really, really neat look that he ended up with there.
So you mentioned the minifigures. What kind of look were you guys going for throughout this build in terms of minifigure design, accessories, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so it was a unique look, obviously, because it's the base of the city is supposed to be like an older, more medieval type thing, but then we also have sci-fi elements. So we really try to combine the two of those together and to give a unique look for them. And I think it gave a really cool look in the end with how it was populated, and the cool vibe that the minifigures are giving off there.
Very nice, thank you. So we'll keep moving over and see if we can get our next builder ready here. I think he's just preparing. Yep. You got to prepare for for your section.
All right, so yeah, I generally built this area over here. So this was kind of like supposed to be the largest structure of the old city. And it's been mostly stayed intact with this tower here. Initially, there would have been another tower here, but it's been kind of torn down. Some of my favorite features were this window here, which I used some of my mom's old Lego, which was very discolored to get that glass to kind of have a stained glass effect. And there is a light that can shine through, but I didn't actually have any lights, so I didn't. But, that was a cool idea. And then just like the hole here with all the cables kind of going in, and especially this archway right here, which actually gives you a view to the center where you can see the bottom of the rocket.
Yeah, so that's fantastic work there. Talk about kind of some of the finer details of how you built the walls and kind of some of the elements there to give it that worn look.
Yeah, so I think with castle walls, it's a balance as far as just using the basic texturing techniques like masonry bricks and tiles, as well as just like interesting architectural shapes like the circle that I included here, or some of the curved pieces coming down. So I tried to balance those two, not make it look too textured, but yeah.
And you got the nice red roof elements in there as well.
Yeah, I think the red was kind of a theme we were going for with Abastonia. You have the red flags as well, and you saw some of the red tarps and whatnot in the market. It was a little bit of a challenge figuring out how to texture them because I was running out of tiles, so I had to use some of the grills and whatnot, but I think it came together pretty well.
And then what are all of these different kind of pipes going in there? How did those come together?
Yeah, so we wanted to just add something else to the building. We were like, oh, well, if we have this big hole that like all sorts of pipes and tubes are coming out of, which was actually a lot more challenging than we thought because I made the hole pretty big and it was hard to fill it all. But thankfully, Finn came in clutch and he gave me this really big pipe thing at the convention because I don't know what all I was going to put in there without that.
I think that's one of those like old Mars mission type things you shoot the aliens through.
Yeah.
Very, very, very nice. So yeah, great work there, and it definitely captures your attention. So what's the next section?
The next section here, I worked on some, but it was primarily Spencer. Spencer was actually staying at my house over the summer, so we collaborated a lot on this. I did most of the kind of castle-y stuff, and he did more of the sci-fi stuff.
Okay, perfect. You wouldn't have him come in and talk? Here we go.
For sure, yeah. So the top section, this is a real thing they got. Rocket engine 3D printers. That was exactly what I wanted to make. And the big smokestack in the back, I saw a cool concept art and tried to basically copy it. Micah's favorite technique. Micah's collection's filled with inverted tires. So it looks like there's something in there now. So went ahead and tried to use those. I thought they looked perfect for smoke. And I don't really have much else to talk about. This is one of those counterweight cranes, but they're like elevators, but made of some boats.
So the boats kind of carry each other up and down.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
I love the kind of precarious drop-offs here. You got those red fence pieces.
Yeah, I mean, you got to label stuff as they made sure to put caution tape down just to be sure. You watch your step.
What is the kind of ladder section like to get up there and then kind of that platform built from?
Well, yeah, Micah had a whole bunch of these little 1x1 corner panel things, which just fit together real well into a nice-looking ladder. And then I thought the top here would look kind of weird if it was just all flat bricks, so we put like a lot of just these like struts made of tiles and plates to kind of give it like a big grate. Yeah.
Perfect. So what's the next section here then?
Well, this back here was built by Alec. No, this was actually built by Caleb. Caleb, who is right there. Caleb, would you enjoy talking about your section?
Yeah, so this is my section. It's kind of a fuel refinery depot. So we got the big fuel tank and then the fuel hose that goes into the rocket to fuel it up before it launches. And then we got a little hut next to the fuel tank for controlling the fuel refinery process. And we got a couple little buckets in front of it for hold chemicals that go in the fuel before the rocket launches.
What is that hose made from?
Yeah, so the hose is a bunch of Speed Champions tires. It's actually the newer Speed Champions. They're all one piece. It works really well, and then it's just on a bionicle kind of flexible hose thing that I found. Yeah, so I was really pleased with that. And then the round on the fuel tank is a design from a set that I just pulled because it looks good. So, yeah.
Somebody had already come up with a good design.
Yeah. I don't have to reinvent the wheel or the circle, I guess, in this case.
There you go. Great work. Thank you.
So I'm Danny, formerly Lego Buff Productions. So I built this little sliver up here. We have an old medieval storefront and then an old tower that fell into ruin that now has a chain attached to it. That chain attaches up here to this little living quarters. We have a few residents of Abystonia staying, and then we have a small turret on top that is powered by that chain we saw earlier. Unfortunately, power function out of battery, so it's not moving, but I promise it does rotate.
It's hard to keep things functional during the show.
Definitely. My favorite part that I used here were these gray pieces. These only came in the UCS Millennium Falcon, so we got those on Lugbook, and that was my way to sneak them in there.
What else do we have here?
So this section was built by Joe. Joe!
Hi, my name is Joe, or J&J Bricks, and I helped organize this collab. My section is going to be right here, the gate front, and then also this windmill portion. So I'll start with the windmill. I actually built this back in 2020 when we were starting the collabs. This is the first slice of the thing that was built. So I was going to be doing a farm section, so that's why I have like a lot of wheat on top, and then there's some goats and a few other animals. And these pipes are supposed to be hydroponics that are sort of bringing water up to the top level. That way all the plants can be watered. This windmill actually is battery powered. I just don't have it running at the moment. So the blade will spin, and these gears move, and then these pieces move up and down too when it actually is running. A lot of the stuff I actually ordered for this build particularly because I wanted to have this thatched roof technique. Using droid arms, and so that goes across the front and then the sides. And then there's also, I ordered the goats specifically for this a couple of years ago. So
You got to plan ahead with your goat purchases.
I do, and it worked out well because the price of those has gone way up since I bought them.
It's a great investment right there.
It really turned out to be, yeah. So this sort of section is where it's broken down from the initial medieval build, and sort of the new technology is infused into the side. So sort of like that combo of medieval and futuristic. And then as you kind of move down, this here is supposed to be like an old church building. It's got retrofitted a little bit with some new technology. It's got lights that kind of are on the sides here, and the windows are like a bright blue. So, it's a little bit more futuristic. And then this whole area here is a market square. And there's a lot of minifigs kind of moving about, doing their thing. And so market stalls where people can buy and sell things. And I've got my third goat down there, which that one I won in a contest, Brickscalibur, this past fall or winter. So I was pretty happy about that to include it here. And then we've got another building over here, which is, just another retrofitted medieval building with some motors that are then connected up into Micah's section. And then the next area is sort of this gate front. And this was kind of interesting to build because I had two sections that are angled that come out, but I wanted to have the gate sort of facing the front when you look at it. So it actually is held down by just some cheese slopes, and then the back portion doesn't really have any bricks on it, so it just slots right into place. And yeah, I think that's basically what I wanted to talk about.
You got some great architectural elements in the gate, the church, really great stuff there. Talk about some of the elements you were able to incorporate into those buildings.
Yeah, so starting with the gate here, this is a technique that I really like to do with castle walls. And essentially what it is you have these 1x2 tiles, and then they're on some 1x1 modified bricks with the stud, and then they're set back one plate so that you see the tile lines up with the rest of the stonework, but then you have this nice gap. So it kind of shows that inset look without having the tiles, protruding from the edges. And then some of the stonework I did on here, this was a lot of the corner modified bricks. And so I just alternated the pattern of the tiles so that there's a slight overlap and it goes on each side, because these 1x2 tiles are able to slide around since they don't have that little piece in the center of them. And then some of the other stonework here, like this section, It's just some snot bricks that are, again, inset a plate so that it kind of has that, doesn't look like it's protruding out, but it's kind of more of like a sunken in look.
And you've got some great minifigure creations down in there as well.
Yeah, so the minifig creation portion, I primarily was just using a bunch of medieval type of figures, and I sort of just throw together a variety. One of the figs that I did specifically create for this collab was these guys up here on top. So they're actually a bunch of different pieces, and so the necks are really tall because I think there's like 4 different neck pieces that go up before the helmet's on there. Otherwise, the helmet won't line up with the shoulder pads. And since they're sort of like that futuristic medieval look, I gave them these translucent blades to sort of be like, almost like lightsaber axes.
Fantastic work, thank you. So I think, does that just leave kind of the back section then?
Yes, I think the rocket is the last portion, and that's pretty cool. So you definitely should look at it.
Okay, I think we've got the builder over here for that. So if you want to introduce yourself and then...
I'm Simon, and I built the rocket. This all started with the idea of building like a castle around Mont Saint Michel. We actually didn't know what to put in the middle. Originally, we thought the upper section could be some sort of opulent church where every single layer you had kind of like the slums, the middle class, and one of those things. And then we kind of pitched around, what did we want to do? At some point, we're like, well, why? Like we had an idea or concept of, well, maybe they took over this area to build a giant rocket to escape the planet or something, and then we would have maybe like outskirts where like people are doing things, but really it was just like the rocket and castle makes sense. It's kind of like, we joke about it, it's kind of like Star Wars without Star Wars figs, because it's kind of Star Warsy, which makes a lot of sense for Rebel Lug. So the actual rocket comes in the bottom section. Each one of the engines comes off, and then each section is kind of stacked on it. So it actually made it fairly easy to build, because I could just have a little section that's about 1.5 feet tall, and I would just stack it up as I went along. From a technique and stuff perspective, like I wanted to have a lot of detail in it. So like one of my favorite things I spent far too long, an entire afternoon, is this girdle section, and just getting everything in that little shoved into a regular girdle just to get that going. This was actually built around mainly right after Bricks Cascade in 2020. We we got super excited, getting ready to get in the full convention center or convention season. So it was basically built. I put it like for a test fit to make sure everything was there, and kind of sat there for 2 years. But like it was great to like finally finish it off. The gantry system, that's fairly straightforward, simple. We want to just like get that built so that kind of gives some color accents, and yeah.
I see some cool parts. Is that like the suitcase element up there?
Yeah. So yeah, like the I wanted some different textures. So suitcases there. There's some Thor hammers for some additional details. And then those were Ferrari. I think one of the Speed Champion sets had that. I think. I don't know who decided on the color scheme, but I think the red accent was one of my ideas. And we also branded it Fire Nation, which back in the day, loved the show and had all these nice flags. So we're like, that gives it a bit of consistency across the board. So then that's kind of why there's a bunch of the red accents on the flag as well. And yeah.
Great work, Simon. Thank you. So we'll go back over to Joe here. So you kind of helped organize the whole collaboration, right?
Yeah, so there was some initial designs that were created by Simon to sort of do the modular aspects of it, and then I kind of organized who was going to build what sections, how they were going to go, and then what was going to be in each section. And for the most part, it worked out really well. The nice thing about this collab too, though, is each section can be moved around to almost any other portion as long as it's not directly connected. So at the end, when we got here, we actually did a little bit of reshuffling of the different sections just to make it have a nice, smooth transition all the way around.
So talk about kind of some of the challenges then of getting this whole collaboration together in terms of all those different sections and making sure they would fit together when you got here.
Yeah, so I would say the most challenging part was making sure we didn't have any overlapping bricks on the different slices. and for the most part, we were successful. There were a couple of different portions, like on Micah's tower, there's a little overhang, and then on Ryan's portion in the back, there was a little bit of overhang on his supports. But we were able to actually just jiggle some things around, move sections, and it actually fit together really quickly. So I was actually really happy with that design. But essentially, it's all based on those 12 long wedge plates. And they sort of just form that semicircle that runs around, and then it's the next layer of the same thing, and it kind of just goes back. I put a lot of time into making sure I had all of the studs counted out for the heights of each wall section, the heights of each support, just so that everyone could actually look at that and see, all right, this is how tall everything needs to be, and could measure it at home and then bring it to the convention, and it was about the same.
Yeah, great work. Thank you so much. Now, obviously, there's a lot of challenging build techniques that go into a display like this. And Spencer, you actually have kind of a helpful tool here.
This is the builder's mat from a new company that me and another builder founded called mock.industries. That's the URL to the website. So this is covered in this is like those hobby cutting mats, except the unit instead of metric is Lego. So these are like plates that are down, plates that are stacked, circles of varying radii, wedges and slopes in the respective angles, and useful calculations. So like, for example, it's really common that you're going to need to be converting between stacked plates and like studs. There's 5 plates stacked to 2 studs. That's when they perfectly line up. And Ryan was telling me this actually turned out to be kind of a big challenge in his mock, where these bricks and the studs are, this snot bridge has to line up perfectly when it comes over to the other side. Otherwise, it's not going to be stable. And something like this is really useful for that.
Yeah, perfect. So where can people check these out?
Mock.industries. If you go to that URL, you'll find it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Great work here. Thank you so much to all of you guys for taking us through the whole layout and for putting all the work into the collaboration here. Great work.